Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. This morning we'll be in Ezekiel chapter 23, verses 1 through 49. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, there were two women, who were daughters of the same mother. They engaged in prostitution in Egypt. In their youth, they engaged in prostitution. Their breasts were squeezed, their lovers fondled their virgin nipples there. Oholah was the name of the older, and Oholibah the name of the younger sister. They became mine, and gave birth to sons and daughters. Oholah is Samaria, and Oholibah is Jerusalem. Oholah engaged in prostitution while she was mine. She lusted after her lovers, the Assyrians, warriors clothed in blue, governors and officials, all of them desirable young men, horsemen riding on horses. She bestowed her sexual favors on them. All of them were the choicest young men of Assyria. She defiled herself with all whom she desired, with all their idols. She did not abandon the prostitution she had practiced in Egypt, for in her youth men had sex with her, fondled her virgin breasts, and ravished her. Therefore I handed her over to her lovers, the Assyrians, for whom she lusted. They exposed her nakedness, seized her sons and daughters, and killed her with the sword. She became notorious among women, and they executed judgments against her. Her sister Oholibah watched this, but she became more corrupt in her lust than her sister had been, and her acts of prostitution were more numerous than those of her sister. She lusted after the Assyrians, governors and officials, warriors in full armor, horsemen riding on horses, all of them desirable young men. I saw that she was defiled. Both of them followed the same path, but she increased her prostitution. She saw men carved on the wall, images of the Chaldeans carved in bright red, wearing belts on their waists and flowing turbans on their heads. All of them looked like officers, the image of Babylonians, whose native land is Chaldea. When she saw them, she lusted after them, and sent messengers to them in Chaldea. The Babylonians crawled into bed with her. They defiled her with their lust. After she was defiled by them, she became disgusted with them. When she lustfully exposed her nakedness, I was disgusted with her, just as I had been disgusted with her sister. Yet she increased her prostitution, remembering the days of her youth when she engaged in prostitution in the land of Egypt. She lusted after their genitals, as large as those of donkeys, and their seminal missions was as strong as that of stallions. This is how you assessed the obscene conduct of your youth, when the Egyptians fondled your nipples and squeezed your young breasts. Therefore, Oholibah, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Look here. I am about to stir up against you the lovers with whom you were disgusted. I will bring them against you from every side. The Babylonians and all the Chaldeans, Pekah, Shoah, and Koah, and all the Assyrians with them, desirable young men, all of them governors and officials, officers and nobles, and all of them riding on horses. They will attack you with weapons, chariots, wagons, and with a huge army. They will array themselves against you on every side, with large shields, small shields, and helmets. I will assign them the task of judgment. They will punish you according to their laws. I will direct my jealous anger against you, and they will deal with you in rage. They will cut off your nose and your ears, and your survivors will die by the sword. They will seize your sons and daughters, and your survivors will be consumed by fire. They will strip your clothes off you and take away your beautiful jewelry. So I will put an end to your obscene conduct and your prostitution, which you have practiced in the land of Egypt. You will not seek their help or remember Egypt any more, for this is what the sovereign Lord says. Look, here I am about to deliver you over to those whom you hate, to those with whom you were disgusted. They will treat you with hatred, take away all you have labored for, and leave you naked and bare. Your nakedness will be exposed, just as when you engaged in prostitution and obscene conduct. I will do these things to you because you engaged in prostitution with the nations, polluting yourself with their idols. You have followed the ways of your sister, so I will place her cup of judgment in your hand. This is what the sovereign Lord says. You will drink your sister's deep and wide cup. You will be scorned and derided, for it holds a great deal. You will be overcome by drunkenness and sorrow. The cup of your sister Samaria is a cup of horror and desolation. You will drain it dry, gnaw its pieces, and tear out your breasts. For I have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says: because you have forgotten me and completely disregarded me, you must bear now the punishment for your obscene conduct in prostitution. The Lord said to me, Son of man, are you willing to pronounce judgment on Aholah and Aholibah? Then declare to them their abominable deeds. For they have committed adultery, and blood is on their hands. They have committed adultery with their idols and their sons, whom they bore to me. They have passed through the fire, and their sons, whom they bore to me, they have passed through the fire as food to their idols. Moreover, they have done this to me. In the very same day they desecrated my sanctuary and profaned my Sabbaths. On the same day they slaughtered their sons for their idols. They came to my sanctuary to desecrate it. This is what they have done in the middle of my house. They even sent for men from far away. When the messengers arrived, those men set out. For them you bathed, painted your eyes, and decorated yourself with jewelry. You sat on a magnificent couch with a table arranged in front of it, where you placed my incense and my olive oil. The sound of a carefree crowd accompanied her, including all kinds of men. Even Sabaeans were brought from the desert. The sisters put bracelets on their wrists and beautiful crowns on their heads. Then I said about the one worn out by adultery, now they will commit immoral acts with her. They had sex with her as one does with a prostitute, in the way they had sex with Aholah and Aholibah, promiscuous women. But upright men will punish them appropriately for their adultery and bloodshed, because they are adulteresses, and blood is on their hands. For this is what the sovereign Lord says: bring up an army against them, and subject them to terror and plunder. That army will pelt them with stones, and slash them with swords. They will kill their sons and daughters, and burn their houses. I will put an end to the obscene conduct in the land. All the women will learn a lesson from this, and not engage in obscene conduct. They will repay you for your obscene conduct, and you will be punished for idol worship. Then you will know that I am the sovereign Lord. Whew. Yeah. It's stated again and again what the issues are here. The immorality, especially the idolatry, and especially the idolatry of sacrificing their sons and their daughters in the fire to idols. And moreover, on top of that, in chapter 23, verse 38, in the very same day they desecrated my sanctuary and profaned my Sabbaths. On the same day they slaughtered their sons for their idols. They came to my sanctuary to desecrate it. This is what they have done in the middle of my house. So, not only are they committing this horrendous act by murdering their sons and daughters in fire for idols, they're going into the Lord's temple in that same day and desecrating it. So, yeah, not good. And the language of the immorality, the language being used to convey the immorality of Samaria and Judah is explicit and severe. In Ezekiel 23, probably the most explicit in the whole Bible. So, yeah. Many, many times this sacrificing of the sons and daughters in the fire is brought up. Yeah. So much so it seemed like it was a nation that rejoiced in the killing of its own children. From Guzik, Ezekiel continues with the familiar theme, using gross sexual promiscuity to illustrate Jerusalem's idolatry. This was accurate as a spiritual illustration, but was also connected to literal reality, because many of the rites connected with the Babylonian idols were sexual in nature, especially sex with prostitutes representing the idol. Yeah, I mean, the male cult prostitutes were often brought up as being a thing, and cult prostitutes in general. Just this whole sexuality being a part of religious expression seemed to have been a very common theme in paganism. Carrying on, Hebrews chapter 10, verses 18 through 39. Now, where there is forgiveness of these, there is no longer any offering for sin. Therefore, brothers and sisters, since we have confidence to enter the sanctuary by the blood of Jesus, by the fresh and living way that he inaugurated for us through the curtain, that is, through his flesh. And since we have a great priest over the house of God, let us draw near with a sincere heart, and the assurance that faith brings, because we have had our hearts sprinkled clean from an evil conscience, and our bodies washed in pure water. And let us hold unwaveringly to the hope that we confess. For the one who made the promise is trustworthy. And let us take thought of how to spur one another on to love and good works, not abandoning our own meetings, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging each other, and even more so, because you see the day drawing near. For if we deliberately keep on sinning after receiving the knowledge of the truth, no further sacrifice for sin is left for us, but only a certain fearful expectation of judgment, and a fury of fire that will consume God's enemies. Someone who rejected the law of Moses was put to death without mercy on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. How much greater punishment do you think that person deserves, who has contempt for the Son of God, and profanes the blood of the covenant that made him holy, and insults the Spirit of grace? For we know the one who said, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay," and again, "The Lord will judge his people." It is a terrifying thing to fall in the hands of the living God. But remember the former days, when you endured a harsh conflict of suffering after you were enlightened. At times you were publicly exposed to abuse and afflictions, and at other times you came to share with others who were treated in that way. For in fact you shared the sufferings of those in prison, and you accepted the confiscation of your belongings with joy, because you knew that you certainly had a better and lasting possession. So do not throw away your confidence, because it has great reward. For you need endurance in order to do God's will, and so receive what is promised. For just a little longer, and he who is coming will arrive and not delay. But my righteous one will live by faith, and if he shrinks back, I take no pleasure in him. But we are not among those who shrink back and thus perish, but are among those who have faith and preserve their souls. Not to provide a defense for going on in sin, but in Hebrews 10:26, if we deliberately keep on sinning after receiving the knowledge of the truth, no further sacrifice for sins is left for us. I think that this is specifically talking about, I think that this is specifically talking about the rejection of the Son of God, in that you've got this connection to someone who rejected the law of Moses was put to death without mercy on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. And then 10:29, how much greater punishment do you think that person deserves who has contempt for the Son of God and profanes the blood of the covenant that made him holy and insults the Spirit of grace? So that's not to say that we should keep on sinning. See Romans for that. But that we as humans are sinful creatures, And we need to give it our best effort to stop sinning. But inevitably, I don't believe we'll reach perfection until after death. So, yeah. And I think there's that aspect of encouragement and pushing forward to better and better here in Hebrews 10:24. Let us take thought of how to spur one another on to love and good works. And 10:25, not abandoning our own meetings as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging each other, and even more so because you see the day drawing near. So, to meet together, to engage each other in discussion, and to take thought of how we can spur one another on to greater and greater, to love and good works. Yeah. Not to give in to isolationism, which I see as becoming more and more of a problem as we rely more and more on technology, and but I find that there's no substitute for meeting in person. So, yeah. Carrying on. Psalm chapter 109, verses 1 through 31. O God, whom I praise, do not ignore me, for they say cruel and deceptive things to me. They lie to me. They surround me and say hateful things. They attack me for no reason. They repay my love with accusations, but I continue to pray. They repay me evil for good and hate for love. Appoint an evil man to testify against him. May an accuser stand at his right side. When he is judged, he will be found guilty. Then his prayer will be regarded as sinful. May his days be few. May another take his job. May his children be fatherless, and his wife a widow. May his children roam about begging, asking for handouts as they leave their ruined homes. May the creditor seize all he owns. May strangers loot his property. May no one show him kindness. May no one have compassion on his fatherless children. May his descendants be cut off. May the memory of them be wiped out by the time the next generation arrives. May his ancestors' sins be remembered by the Lord. May his mother's sin not be forgotten. May the Lord be constantly aware of them, and cut off the memory of his children from the earth, for he never bothered to show kindness. He harassed the oppressed and needy, and killed the disheartened. He loved to curse others, so those curses have come upon him. He had no desire to bless anyone, so he has experienced no blessings. He made cursing a way of life, so curses poured into his stomach like water and seeped into his bones like oil. May a curse attach itself to him, like a garment one puts on, or a belt one wears continually. May the Lord repay my accusers in this way, those who say evil things about me. O sovereign Lord, intervene on my behalf for the sake of your reputation, because your loyal love is good. Deliver me. For I am oppressed and needy, and my heart beats violently within me. I am fading away like a shadow at the end of the day. I am shaken off like a locust. I am so starved my knees shake. I have turned into skin and bones. I am disdained by them. When they see me, they shake their heads. Help me, O Lord my God, because you are faithful to me. Deliver me. Then they will realize this is your work, and that you, Lord, have accomplished it. They curse, but you will bless. When they attack, they will be humiliated, but your servant will rejoice. My accusers will be covered with shame, and draped in humiliation as if it were a robe. I will thank the Lord profusely. In the middle of a crowd, I will praise him, because he stands at the right hand of the needy, to deliver him from those who threaten his life. A pretty intense invocation of vengeance on the wicked. In particular, the accusers of the psalmist here, which the psalmist isn't just asking for vengeance upon the one who accuses him, but also upon his children and his widow. And a whole heap of things associated with that, which is pretty common amongst rulers, I think, especially like in the old days when the throne was taken by force, or yeah, taken by force by a successor who wasn't in the lineage of the king. He would often go and kill the children of the other regent, so as to prevent any sort of proper taking of the throne. Yeah. Not sure. Well, regardless, Proverbs chapter 27, verse 13. Take a man's garment when he has given security for a stranger, and when he gives surety for a stranger, hold him in pledge. Yeah, co-signing for another person, not a good idea. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you have a great day. Bye.